I'm adding a clip in the beginning of the video because I forgot to mention the reason why I'm doing these videos. The Lord had put it on my heart to make a testimony video and to put it in front of as many people as I can get in front of. And the only way I can do that, I believe, is through YouTube and Facebook. And so the purpose of this is to inspire. It's to inspire somebody who has maybe gone through a difficult time in their life. It doesn't have to be medically, but it could be medically. It could be somebody that's close to them, a family member. And so they're struggling. And so this testimony video is to encourage. It's encourage believers or people who are not believers yet to maybe lead them to Jesus. That's my intentions. At the end of the video, I am going to put a message that God gave me. It was personally for me, but then at the time, but then He told me to tell this message to as many people as I can get in front of. So that's the purpose of these videos, and I'm hoping you will help me by opening up the platform a little bit more to other people by sharing it, by liking and subscribing, which helps the analytics with YouTube. And if you watch any YouTube videos of at all, you've heard them people say like, um, if this is your sort of content that you like, to please subscribe. And the reason why is the more subscribers, the more YouTube puts it in front of other viewers on YouTube, whether it be in the same category as what the videos are or whatever. And so by liking, by commenting, by sharing it, maybe to YouTube or to your profile on Instagram or Facebook, whatever you can do to help me get this in front of as many people as possible, to be a blessing for God, to point everybody to God. I'm grateful and thankful that each one of you that come to see this, and I hope in some way it inspires you or touches you in some way. And feel free to comment, feel free to reach out to me. If you need prayer for something specifically, you can inbox me. You can text me. My phone number is available in the About info on my Facebook page. Um, but feel free to reach out to me and we can talk. I can pray for you either over a video call or I can text it to you, however you wish to do it. But I'm here to serve and here to lead people to Jesus. Point to Jesus. So I thank you again for this opportunity and we'll get right into the video. Thank you. In our last video, I mentioned that I would be doing a video on my testimony. I am going to try to condense these down the best way I can, keep them as short as possible. But if it's needed, I will put them into a couple of different videos so it doesn't take up too much of your time all at once. So at the beginning of this year, we had already noticed some problems going on within my mouth. And so we were referred to UNC. So we went up to the clinic, the dental clinic up there, and had some biopsies taken. They took 5 biopsies from various parts of my mouth, under my tongue, the sides of my gum and stuff. And they had said at that moment that the results should be back within 1 week. So we rescheduled an appointment. And during that week, I was seeking God, of course. And he had mentioned to me that the diagnosis is going to come back unfavorable. And I was like, what do you mean unfavorable? And he said to me not to worry. It's for his glory and my good. And that he would be with me every step of the way. I'm like, okay. So at first you get a little fearful, set in. Then after a couple of days, I embraced the fact that, okay, God's got me. It'll be okay. So it comes time to drive for our appointment. The wife takes the day off. It's 2.5 hour drive up there. We're about an hour into our trip, and we get a phone call, and it's the scheduling center, and they said we do not have the results back from the biopsies yet, so we're going to schedule you out for another week. So that week comes and goes, and they still don't have the results. They moved it out, and finally, after a little bit over a month, I received the diagnosis. There's an online chart that you can log into. I also had the app on my phone, and it mentioned that the diagnosis came back as squamous cell carcinoma. And if you Google it, which I did, the very first thing that comes up is a type of skin cancer. And so I'm thinking, all right, I've heard of many people getting skin cancer. You get it removed and it's not that big of a deal. So we continued on, and we went to our appointment. The lady was, the lady had said, I am sorry, Mr. Zimmerman, but we found cancer. I'm like, okay. Me and my wife were both pretty calm at that point. We're like, okay, what's the next step? And she said, well, we're going to refer you to the ENT clinic at the oncology at UNC Hospital. We're like, okay. So they went ahead and scheduled that appointment for us, or said they would be contacting us for that appointment. And it was within a couple of weeks we got that appointment. Went up and seen Dr. Yarbrough, and he had scheduled some scans, a PET scan or some sort of scan where they shoot you full of dye in the IV and run you through the machine. So being that it was 2.5 hours away, the scan was one day, the appointment with the doctor was the next day. We stayed at a local hospital within a few minutes of a local hotel within a few minutes of the hospital. So we get up the next morning to go to our appointment for the doctor. And my wife notices the front desk clerk. Her name is Mercy. Mercy. Just like, you read in the Bible, God's mercy for us. And the songs we sing in church and what have you, what's on the radio. So we thought that was pretty cool. We had a small interaction, and then off we went to the doctor's appointment. We get to the doctor office, and the girl that checks you in and kind of takes your vitals, like your blood pressure, your weight, and all that sort of stuff. We look, and on her name tag it said Grace. So that morning we have Mercy at the hotel, we have Grace at the doctor's office, and me and my wife were very spiritual, so we believe in the Lord's favor is all around us in this situation, so it was comforting. It meant a lot to us. When the doctor comes in, he comes in and he's got the recording device on him. He's looking around in my mouth, and he says, okay, he said, we're going to have to remove the cancer, and you'll probably lose a couple front teeth, which they were loose and wiggling. I was expecting something, but I wasn't putting the two together somehow in my head that the cancer and my teeth being wiggling, I don't know why. I was still thinking skin cancer under my tongue, and he would just remove it and it wouldn't be that big a deal. But he starts describing to me, he said, we're going to take your lymph nodes out. And I'm like, how come? He said, well, anytime you got cancer of the face or neck or inside your mouth, we like to remove them to make sure the cancer hasn't spread anywhere. He said, then because it's going to cause your neck and your airway to be swollen, we don't want to restrict your breathing, so we're going to put in a trach tube, which I still have today. That's why I wear this little deal here to cover it all up. And it was like a bomb exploded in front of my wife and I. We were thinking very minimal, snip, snip, skin cancer of the mouth, it's gone, and you're out the door. That was not the case at all, and it hit us hard. And he said, I would like to get the reconstruction doctor in on this, on the team. I said, what for? He said, well, there's going to be some skin grafts that are going to be needed to cover up where we remove your lymph nodes. And just in case we run into anything else, he's there, right there on site, in the room, and he can jump in and take over. I said, okay. So it was kind of foggy and blurry at this point. Details he was telling me because I was in a certain amount of shock. So we get in the car, we're driving home, we call this wonderful couple from church who have been great leaders in our life and at our church, part of the marriage ministry that my wife and I are a part of. And we call them and we're telling them what happened, what the doctor said, and of course they're encouraging us, to stand in faith on what the Lord has told us and His word, By His stripes you are healed, okay? Now we got to try to walk this out. We got to live this out in real life. And so I'm still seeking God through it all. And one day I was walking my dog. Actually, that comes a little later. I'm sorry I jumped ahead. The reconstruction doctor's appointment. It falls on our anniversary. Every year, I try to do something special for our anniversary. A getaway weekend, a little trip, something. And this time we're going to UNC, Chapel Hill. And UNC is a lot like, for those in Michigan, it's like the U of M hospital. They are very specialized in certain areas, and so is UNC. So we get to the reconstructive doctor, Dr. Blumberg, and he's going over some stuff, and he's like, okay, we're going to have to remove the bone from your leg and rebuild your chin. We're going to cut a section of your chin bone, your jawbone rather. I said, for what? Skin cancer? And he said, no. And he looks at his paperwork and he's like, hey, Mr. Zimmerman, he said, Dr. Yarbrough didn't get a chance to review the scans, he said, Mr. Zimmerman, you have stage 4 cancer of the bone in your jaw. He said, it's eaten away at your jawbone, a hole in it. And when he said that, that was like another bomb going off before us, you know? Like, this is way more than skin cancer, way more than what we thought, way more than we were ready to hear. Stage 4 bone cancer is a frightening, frightening word. It is. And so he says everything he's got to say, and we go on the road back home. And after all that, we called up that wonderful couple, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who've been praying so hard for us and helping us build our faith and believing that God has us no matter what. And so 2.5 hour drive is a very long way to drive when you've been given such incredible news as that. So the rest of that day, of course, and night was ate up with just questions and fears and trying to console one another and stay strong for one another. And all these questions start coming up in my mind about what is this going to look like afterwards? What am I going to be like? What life is going to be like? What does a surgery look like? How long in the hospital? How long for recovery? All those things. So I fired off a list of questions to the doctor. And that was a huge, huge mistake on my part because he answered them very, very detailed. And the images that were going through my mind of the things he was telling me that was going to happen was horrific, and fear gripped me so tightly and settled in. I was having a very, very difficult time. I was walking our dog, Shiloh, on our property. This property is amazing. It's a gift from God, of course. It reminds me a lot of up north Michigan. We're in the woods on 5 acres. Our house is right in the middle. We have some trails out back that we often walk, and I take my dog for walks on them. I remember the exact spot. In the very, very back of our property, there is a spring-fed creek that runs through it. And I was walking along the trail right there, and I had my AirPods in, listening to Christian music and speaking to God, talking to God, praying, of course, and I heard him tell me very clear that I'm going to restore your mouth completely. New bones will grow, new flesh will grow, teeth will grow, without a blemish will be in your mouth. no previous cavities or fillings will be there, all brand new. I'm like, that's awesome. That's great, Lord. That's a thank you for telling me this. And then I remembered reading in the Bible and hearing messages from pastors that when we die and we go to heaven, we're fully restored. So I immediately called out to the Lord and I said, wait, am I going to heaven and not going to live through this? Or are you going to fully restore me right here in this zip code where I live? And I was serious and a little panicky in my voice. And I hear the Lord almost kind of chuckle and say, yes, Mark, right where you live, I am going to restore you fully. And so I want to put like a little bookmark in your mind with this story. And we're going to come back to this in a little bit.